The restaurant went silent the moment Nkosazana spoke. Not the polite kind of silence where people pause their conversations, but the kind where everything stops. Director Baekeg's face drained of color. The other men at the table shifted uncomfortably in their seats. And Seo-ji-won, the man they called the most dangerous person in Seoul's underground, leaned forward with an expression no one had seen before. Interest. He'd just heard a Nigerian waitress speak flawless Korean, the kind with regional slang that couldn't be learned from textbooks, and she'd used it to put his associate in his place without ever raising her voice. "Say that again," he said quietly. She met his eyes without flinching. That was the moment everything changed. That was the moment he decided he wanted her. And when Seo-ji-won wanted something, he got it. The question was whether Nkosazana knew what she'd just walked into. The thing about working at Wallyong was that you learned to read people fast. Nkosazana had been doing this for 6 months now, and she could spot the difference between new money and old money from across the dining room. New money ordered the most expensive items and made sure everyone heard about it. Old money barely glanced at the menu. The 4 men who walked in that Thursday night were definitely old money. She was wiping down table 7 when they arrived. Manager Kwan practically teleported to the entrance, his whole body going rigid in a way that made her pause mid-wipe. He was bowing deeper than usual, his voice climbing half an octave as he greeted them. "Interesting." Hana grabbed her arm as she passed. "Don't go to that table. It's my section. I'll take it. Trade with me." Nkosazana pulled her arm free gently. "You took my last 3 high-tip tables. I need this one." Hana's face did something complicated, like she wanted to argue but couldn't find the words. Finally, she just shook her head and walked away fast. Even more interesting, Nkosazana picked up 4 menus and headed over. The men were settling into the corner booth, the one with the view of Itaewon's nightlights spreading out like someone had spilled diamonds across black velvet. 3 of them were talking, voices low. The 4th was silent. He was the youngest, maybe mid-30s, and he sat at the angle that let him see both the dining room and the door. His face was the kind that didn't give anything away. Not cold exactly, just controlled, like every expression was a choice rather than a reaction. "Good evening," Nkosazana said in English, smiling her professional smile. "Can I start you with something to drink?" The oldest man, 60-something with silver hair, waved his hand dismissively. "Water. Just water for now." His Korean was casual, the tone you'd use with someone you didn't really see as a person. She switched languages without missing a beat. Of course. Still or sparkling? The silver-haired man blinked. One of the others, younger with an expensive watch, leaned forward slightly. "You speak Korean," Expensive Watch said. "I do. Where did you learn?" "Here and there." She kept her smile pleasant and unrevealing. "Still or sparkling water?" "Still," the quiet one said. His voice was different from the others. Softer, but somehow it cut through anyway. Everyone else stopped talking. She looked at him properly then. He was looking back, and there was something in his eyes that made her feel like she'd just been photographed without permission. Like he'd taken in everything about her in 2 seconds and filed it away somewhere permanent. "Still water for everyone," she confirmed, writing nothing down, because there was nothing to write yet. "I'll give you a few minutes with the menu." She turned to go. "Actually," Expensive Watch said, and his tone had changed. Gone oily. "We were just saying how nice it is that they're hiring exotic types now. Really adds to the atmosphere, don't you think? Like decoration." He said it in Korean, said it like she was a plant in the corner. The table went quiet in a different way. Nkosazana turned back slowly. She let the pause stretch just long enough to make him wonder, then smiled wider. "I'm so glad you're enjoying the atmosphere. Though between us, I think the decor budget would have been better spent on teaching some guests basic manners. Still water all around then? Or would you prefer something to help wash down that foot you just put in your mouth?" She said it in perfect Seoul Korean, the polite form, every word technically respectful and absolutely devastating. Expensive Watch's face went red, then white. The quiet one's expression changed. Not a smile, not quite, but something shifted. He leaned back slightly, studying her with open interest now, instead of casual observation. "Say that again," he said. Nkosazana met his eyes. "Which part?" The water order or the suggestion about manners? This time he did smile. Barely. Just one corner of his mouth. But it was there. You're Korean. Where did you learn it? I lived here when I was younger. 8 years. Where? Gangnam. Near the school district. Which school? The silver-haired man cleared his throat. Jiwon. Perhaps we should order. So that was his name. Jiwon. But Jiwon didn't look away from her. Answer the question. It should have sounded rude, but it didn't. It sounded genuinely curious, like her answer actually mattered to him. Seoul International, she said. My mother worked for an NGO. We moved here when I was 8, left when I was 16. And you came back. Scholarship money doesn't grow on trees. Working holiday visa pays better than Kampala. She didn't usually tell customers this much. Actually, she never told customers this much. But something about the way he asked made lying feel harder than truth. Kampala, he repeated. Uganda. Gold star for geography. The fourth man, who hadn't spoken yet, made a noise that might have been a laugh or a cough. Jiwon shot him a look, and he went quiet. What's your name? Jiwon asked. The menu has my recommendation on page 3, Nakosadzana said smoothly. The braised short rib is particularly good tonight. I'll get that water. She left before he could ask again. In the kitchen, her hands were shaking slightly. She ran cold water over her wrists, breathing slowly. Hana appeared next to her, eyes wide. What did you say to them? Took their water order. Nkosi, that's Seo Jiwon. The name meant nothing. Nkosazana shook her head. Hana grabbed her phone, typed fast, turned the screen around. It was a news article, Korean business journal. There was a photo of Jiwon, same unreadable face, standing in front of a building. The headline said something about acquisitions and real estate development. So he's rich. Half our customers are rich. Not like this, Hannah's voice dropped. My cousin works at Club 7th. She says the owner doesn't even come to work anymore because Seo Jiwon bought the building, and now he just collects the money. She says people are scared of him. Scared of a real estate guy? Not just real estate. Other things. Things people don't talk about. A chill ran down Nkosazana's spine, but she pushed it away. Well, he still needs water like everyone else. She loaded a tray with 4 glasses and a bottle of still water, added lemon slices because it looked nice, and headed back out. They were deep in conversation when she returned. Something about a shipment and customs and a problem at the port. They went silent as she approached. She poured the water, set the glasses down gently. Ready to order? Jiwon ordered for the table without asking the others. He did it the way someone who was used to making decisions did it, quick and certain. When he finished, he handed her the menu and their fingers brushed. Thank you, he said. Then, quieter, I apologize for Director Beck's rudeness earlier. She glanced at Expensive Watch, who was staring at the table like it had personally offended him. Apology noted, she said. Food will be 20 minutes. She walked away, feeling his eyes on her back the entire distance to the kitchen. If you're enjoying this story so far, do me a favor and hit that like button. Trust me, this is just getting started, and you're going to want to see where this goes. Now let's get back to it. The rest of service went smooth. She brought their food, refilled water, stayed professional. Jishwan didn't ask more questions, but every time she came to the table, his attention shifted to her completely, like someone had flipped a switch, and suddenly, she was the only thing in the room. It was flattering and unnerving in equal measure. They stayed for 2 hours. When they finally got up to leave, Manager Kwan appeared again, bowing, thanking them, promising their next visit would be even better. Jiwon nodded once and headed for the door. Nemko Sazana was clearing table 3 when she noticed the envelope. It was black, expensive paper, sitting exactly where Jiwon had been seated. Her name was written on it in Korean characters. Neat handwriting, confident strokes. Her heartbeat picked up. She looked around, saw Manager Kwan watching her with an expression she couldn't read. She picked up the envelope. Inside was more money than she made in 2 weeks, all in 50,000 won notes, crisp and new. And underneath the money, a business card. Heavy cardstock, no name, just a phone number and a logo she didn't recognize. He asked your name, Hana said, appearing at her elbow like a ghost. Manager Kwan told him. Minko Sazana stared at the money. She should give it back. This was too much. This was weird. But 2 weeks of pay meant her sister's school fees were covered for the month. Meant she could actually eat something other than convenience store kimbap. Meant 1 month closer to saving enough for graduate school. She pocketed the money. She left the business card on the table. 3 days later, he came back. Neko Sazana was in the middle of taking an order from a young couple when she saw him walk in. Alone this time. Manager Kwan rushed over, but Jiwon said something short, and Kwan backed off, looking confused. Jiwon walked straight to her section and sat down at a two-top by the window. The couple she was serving noticed her distraction. Miss? The soup? Right. Yes. Sorry. 1 mihokuk. Extra seaweed. Got it. She finished their order, dropped it to the kitchen, and took a breath before approaching Jiwon's table. He was looking at his phone, scrolling through something, completely relaxed. When she stopped at his table, he looked up and put the phone away. Good evening, she said in English. Good evening, he replied in Korean. Fine, 2 could play this. Dining alone tonight? She asked in Korean. I am. Is that strange? Not at all. Just different from last time. Last time was business. Tonight is something else. Something else. I was in the area. I thought the food was good. She waited. He smiled, barely. And I wanted to see if you actually worked here, or if I imagined you. Imagined me? A waitress who speaks better Korean than half my staff, and doesn't take disrespect from anyone, seemed unlikely. I'm very real. I'm starting to see that. The air between them felt charged, like right before a thunderstorm. She cleared her throat. What can I get you? He ordered light, just 1 dish and tea. When she brought it 15 minutes later, he was still alone, still looking comfortable, still watching the room like he owned it. Maybe he did. She didn't know. Can I ask you something? He said as she set down the tea. You can ask. Why didn't you call? She blinked. Sorry? I left you my number. You left me a very generous tip. The card I assumed was a mistake. It wasn't. Then I assumed it was inappropriate. It wasn't that either. She crossed her arms. So what was it? An invitation. To what? Conversation. Outside of here. He gestured around the restaurant. Where you're not working, and I'm not a customer. That's usually called a date. Is it? I'm not familiar with the usual way. Despite herself, she almost smiled. You're telling me you don't know what a date is? I'm telling me I don't usually ask for them. Why ask for this one? He considered the question seriously, like it mattered. Because you surprised me. That doesn't happen often. Surprise you how? You're smart. You see things. You said something to Bake that put him in his place without ever being rude enough that he could call you on it. That takes skill. That takes practice, dealing with men who think you're decoration. Something flickered across his face. Does that happen often? More than it should. He nodded slowly. If you have dinner with me, I promise I will never think of you as decoration. What will you think of me as? I don't know yet. That's why I want dinner. She should say no. Every instinct said no. He was too intense, too interested, too much. And there was what Hana had said, about people being scared, about things people didn't talk about. But there was also rent coming due, and her sister's tuition, and the way he looked at her, like she was a puzzle he actually wanted to solve, instead of a body he wanted to use. I'm off on Sunday, she heard herself say. His expression didn't change, but something in his eyes did. Sunday works. I'll pick you up at 7. You don't know where I live. I'll text you. You'll tell me. You don't have my number. He smiled then. For real. And it changed his whole face. Made him look younger, less controlled. I left you mine. Seems fair that you leave me yours. Against her better judgment, against every warning bell, she told him. He saved it into his phone immediately, then sent her a text. A single word. Confirmed. There, he said. Now you have mine too. What if I don't show up? Then I'll be disappointed, but I won't chase you. Why not? Because you're not something to chase. You're someone to wait for. Her stomach flipped. That was too smooth. Nobody said things like that in real life. Except apparently he did. I need to get back to work, she said. more to escape the moment than because it was true. Of course. He picked up his tea. Thank you, Nkosazana. Hearing her name and his voice did something to her that she absolutely did not want to examine closely. She went back to work. He finished his meal slowly, paid, and left. The tip this time was exactly 20%. Normal. Almost disappointing. Her phone buzzed in her pocket an hour later. Unknown number. Sunday. 7. Wear something comfortable. She stared at it, deleted it, then immediately regretted deleting it, and felt stupid about that. Hana cornered her at the end of the shift. He came back. He liked the food. Ninkosi. What? Be careful. Of what? He's just a guy. Hana gave her a look that said she knew that was a lie, and Nkosazana knew that was a lie, and they both knew they were going to pretend it wasn't. Sunday came faster than it should have. Nkosazana changed outfits 4 times, hated all of them, and ended up in jeans and a nice blouse, because he'd said comfortable, and she was taking him at his word. Her hair took another 20 minutes. Makeup kept simple, because she didn't want to look like she was trying too hard, even though she absolutely was trying too hard. At 6:59, her phone rang. Hello? I'm downstairs. Her stomach jumped. Be right there. She grabbed her bag, checked her face one more time, and headed down. Her building was not nice. It was the kind of place where the elevator only worked half the time, and someone's laundry was always hanging in the hallway. She wondered what he'd think. Then she stepped outside and forgot to wonder anything. He was leaning against a black car, hands in his pockets, looking up at the building. When he saw her, his whole posture changed, straightened. He smiled. Hi, he said. Hi. He opened the car door for her. The interior was clean and smelled like leather and something else, something subtle. He got in the driver's side. Where are we going? She asked. Ueljiro. There's a place I want to show you. Fancy? No. Opposite of fancy. That surprised her. Okay. He drove well, confident, but not aggressive, and he didn't fill the silence with nervous chatter. She appreciated that. They crossed the river, moved into older neighborhoods, places where the buildings were smaller and the streets were narrower. He parked on a side street and led her to a restaurant that looked like someone's grandmother ran it. Maybe someone's grandmother did run it. Inside was tiny, 6 tables, walls covered in old photos and newspaper clippings. An elderly woman appeared from the back, and her face transformed when she saw Jiwon. Aigu, Jiwon-ah, how long has it been? Too long, auntie. She swatted his arm affectionately, then noticed Nkosazana, and her eyes went wide with open curiosity. And who is this? This is Nkosazana. Nkosazana, this is Mrs. Lim, best cook in Seoul. He's a liar, but I like him anyway, Mrs. Lim said, beaming. Sit, I'll bring you the good stuff. They sat. The table was old wood, worn smooth by years. The whole place felt like a memory. You come here often? Nkosazana asked. I used to, when I was younger. My father brought me here. Does he still? Something shuddered in his expression. He passed away 3 years ago. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was complicated. She understood complicated. My father left when I was 6. Haven't seen him since. That's harder. Different hard, maybe. He nodded. Mrs. Lim brought out food. Too much food. Plates and bowls covering the whole table. She fussed over them, told Jiwon he looked too thin, told Nkosazana she was beautiful, and then finally left them alone. Eat, Jiwon said. Seriously, everything here is incredible. He wasn't wrong. It was home cooking, the kind that tasted like someone's grandmother had put love directly into the recipe. They ate and talked, real talk, not date small talk. She told him about Uganda, about her mother's work, about learning Korean from textbooks and TV dramas, and getting made fun of by kids at school until her accent smoothed out. He told her about studying in London, feeling split between 2 worlds, coming back to Seoul and finding it both familiar and foreign. Do you like it? She asked. What you do now? He paused, chopsticks halfway to his mouth. That's complicated. You say that a lot. It's true a lot. Try me. Uncomplicate it. He set down the chopsticks. I run my family's companies, plural. Real estate, hospitality, imports. It's successful. It's stable. And most days I'm not sure if I'm doing it because I want to, or because I don't know how to do anything else. The honesty surprised her. Have you ever tried anything else? No. Why not? Because by the time I was old enough to want to, I was already too deep in. People depended on me. The business depended on me. It felt irresponsible to walk away. Irresponsible or impossible? He looked at her, really looked at her. You're very direct. Is that a problem? No. It's refreshing. Mrs. Lim brought out more food. They kept talking. She learned he liked jazz, hated action movies, read more than anyone she'd ever met. He learned she wanted to work in conflict resolution, that her sister was her favorite person in the world, that she missed Uganda, but loved Seoul in a different way. 2 hours disappeared. When they finally left, Mrs. Lim hugged Jiwon and whispered something in his ear that made him smile. She hugged Nkosazana too, told her to come back soon. In the car, Nkosazana felt warm and full and confused. "Thank you," she said. "That was really nice." It was. He started the engine but didn't drive yet. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. Why did you say yes to tonight?" She thought about lying, decided against it. Honestly, part of me was curious. Part of me liked the attention. And part of me really needs the distraction from worrying about rent. Honest. "You asked." "I did." He pulled out into traffic. "For what it's worth, I'm glad you said yes. Even though my reasons were shallow, your reasons were human. I appreciate human." They drove in comfortable silence. When he pulled up to her building, he got out and opened her door again. "I'd like to do this again," he said. "Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Okay?" He sounded surprised, pleased. "Don't make me take it back." He laughed, an actual laugh, and it was the best sound she'd heard all night. "Good night, Nkosazana." "Good night, Jiwon." She went inside, climbed the stairs, got to her apartment and leaned against the door. Her phone buzzed. "Jiwon, thank you for tonight." She smiled at her screen like an idiot and texted back. "Nobasuan, thank you for the food coma." Jiwon, "Mrs. Lim doesn't believe in portion control." "I noticed. I'm going to be eating leftovers for a week." Jiwon, "She packed you leftovers?" Nkosazana, "She packed me enough leftovers to feed a small army." Jiwon, "That means she likes you." Nkosazana, "How can you tell?" Jiwon, "She only does that for family." Her heart did a small flip. She set down the phone, tried to be normal about it, failed completely. The next morning at work, Manager Kwon pulled her aside. "You're seeing CO Jiwon," he said. "Not a question. We had dinner, once." Kwon's face did something complicated. "Be careful." Why does everyone keep saying that? Because he's not. He's a good man, I think, but his world is not a safe world. What does that mean? Kwon looked like he wanted to say more but couldn't. Finally, he just shook his head. Just be careful. It should have scared her off. Should have made her think twice. Instead, it made her more curious. She Googled him that night. Really Googled him. Passed the first page of business results. Found the articles Hana had mentioned, about investigations, and dropped charges and businesses that changed hands quietly. Found photos of him at events, always in the background, never seeking the camera. Found an old interview from a business magazine where he talked about legacy and responsibility, and made it all sound very noble and very heavy. Found one photo, years old, of him with an older man who had the same eyes. His father, probably. Both of them unsmiling. She fell asleep, thinking about what kind of person grew up in that world and came out the other side, still capable of laughing at portion control jokes. He texted her the next day, asked about her week. She answered. It became a pattern. Good morning texts, good night texts, random observations throughout the day. He sent her a photo of a bad English translation on a sign. She sent him one back. He liked terrible puns. She liked that he liked terrible puns. On Wednesday, he asked if she was free on Saturday. She was. He picked her up at 6 this time. Took her to a jazz club in Hanamdong, small and dark and intimate. The music was incredible. They didn't talk much, just listened. And when the set ended, he asked if she wanted to walk. They walked along the river. The city lights reflected on the water, doubled and shimmering. "Can I tell you something?" he said. "Sure. I don't do this, any of this. The dating, the texting, the normalcy. Why not? Because my life doesn't usually allow for it. There's always work, always some crisis, always someone who needs something. And the few times I've tried, it felt like playing a part instead of being myself. And this doesn't?" He stopped walking, turned to face her. "No, this feels real. You feel real." Her breath caught. "Jiwon, I'm not trying to pressure you. I just wanted you to know, this matters to me. You matter to me." She didn't know what to say to that, didn't know how to hold something that big and fragile and true. So instead she stepped closer and kissed him. It was soft, careful, a question more than a statement. He answered by pulling her closer, one hand coming up to cup her face, gentle, like she was something precious. When they broke apart, he was smiling. "So," he said, "that was good." She laughed, smooth. "I'm out of practice." Could have fooled me. They walked back to the car holding hands. It felt teenage and perfect. He drove her home. At her door, he kissed her again, longer this time, and when he pulled away, he looked dazed. "Good night," he said. "Good night." She floated up the stairs. Everything felt perfect. That should have been her first warning. The next 2 weeks felt like living in a different reality. Jiwon texted her every morning. Sometimes it was just good morning. Sometimes it was a photo of his coffee or a terrible joke he'd heard. She found herself checking her phone more than she wanted to admit, smiling at her screen like an idiot, while Hana made faces at her across the restaurant. They saw each other 3 more times. Once for lunch at a noodle place in Myeongdong, where they had to share a table with strangers, and kept their knees pressed together under the table like teenagers. Once for a movie, some French film he wanted to see, and she fell asleep 20 minutes in, and woke up on his shoulder while he was still watching intently. Once for coffee that turned into dinner, that turned into walking around Hongdae until midnight watching street performers. He was different when it was just them, lighter. He smiled more, made bad jokes, told her stories about Mrs. Lim and her husband, who used to give him candy when his father was in one of his moods, asked her questions about Uganda, about her childhood, about what she wanted to do after graduate school. He listened like her answers mattered, like she mattered. It was terrifying and wonderful in equal measure. But there were moments, small moments, where something felt off. Like when they were walking in Hongdae and someone recognized him, a younger guy, maybe mid-20s, who went pale when he saw Jiwon and practically bowed himself in half, apologizing for interrupting. Jiwon was polite but cold, dismissed him quickly, and the guy scurried away like he'd narrowly avoided something dangerous. "Friend of yours?" Neko-sazana asked. "Works for one of my companies. He should know better than to approach outside of work." The way he said it was casual, but something in his tone made her skin prickle. Or like when his phone rang during dinner and he glanced at the screen and his whole face changed. Went from relaxed to that controlled blankness she'd seen at the restaurant. He excused himself, took the call outside, came back 10 minutes later looking tired. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Work. Always work. Want to talk about it?" "Not really. I'd rather talk about literally anything else." So she let it go, but she noticed. The third thing happened on a Tuesday. Her landlord had been a problem for months. Mr. Park owned the building and had decided that foreign tenants should pay more because, as he'd told her directly, they caused more trouble. Never mind that Neko-sazana was the quietest person on her floor. Never mind that she paid on time every month. He wanted an extra 200,000 won starting next month, or she could leave. She'd been fighting it, politely but firmly, showing him her contract, reminding him that what he was doing was illegal. He'd laughed at her, told her to prove it. She was looking into tenant rights organizations, trying to figure out if she could afford a lawyer, stressing about it constantly. Then on Tuesday she came home, and Mr. Park was waiting in the lobby. He looked different, nervous. He stood up when she walked in. "Miss Mirembe," he said in Korean, formal and stiff. "I need to apologize." She stopped. "Sorry?" "The rent increase. I was mistaken. Your contract is your contract. No changes. I'm very sorry for the confusion." She stared at him. "What changed your mind?" I reconsidered. It was wrong of me. Please accept my apology. He bowed, actually bowed, and then left quickly, like he had somewhere urgent to be. Nico Susanna stood in the lobby, feeling like she'd stepped sideways into a different universe. She texted Hannah. Landlord just apologized and canceled the rent increase. Did I wake up in an alternate dimension? Hannah. That's weird. Nico Susanna. Very weird. She didn't think much of it. Not right away. People changed their minds. Maybe he'd talked to a lawyer and realized she was right. Maybe his conscience caught up with him. But then on Thursday, her phone bill was wrong. As in, she went to pay it, and the amount due was 0. When she called the company, they said there had been a credit applied to her account. When she asked from where, the person on the phone said it was from a corporate partner program, but couldn't give her details. She hadn't signed up for any corporate partner program. That night she asked Jiwon if he knew anything about Korean phone companies doing random credits. Why? He asked. They were texting, late. Both should have been asleep. My bill got paid by someone and I don't know who. Jiwon. That's strange. Nenko Susanna. Right? Maybe an error in your favor. Don't question good luck. She wanted to believe that. She tried to believe that. But Friday morning manager Kwon pulled her aside again at work. You need to be careful, he said. You've said that before. I'm saying it again. Say it so, Jiwon. He's not a bad man. But he's a powerful man. And powerful men solve problems in ways that create other problems. What are you talking about? Kwon looked around like he was checking for listeners. Your landlord, Park Min-ho. He came into some trouble this week. Business trouble. Someone bought the debt on his building. Now he's scrambling to keep everything clean, keep all his tenants happy, so the new owner doesn't have an excuse to push him out. Cold ran down her spine. Who bought the debt? I don't know the name of the company, but I know who owns the company. She didn't need him to say it. She finished her shift on autopilot, smiled at customers, took orders, brought food. Inside, she was spinning. When she got home, she opened her laptop and really looked. Not just a casual Google search, really looked. She found more articles, a pattern of businesses that changed hands quietly. Competitors, who suddenly backed off from deals. People who crossed Jiwon or his companies, and then had mysterious financial troubles right afterward. Nothing provable. Nothing illegal that stuck. But the pattern was there if you looked. She found a blog post from 2 years ago, anonymous, talking about how the Seo family had connections everywhere. Police, politicians, judges, how they operated in the gray spaces where legal and illegal blurred together. She found a photo from a funeral. Jiwon in a black suit, face empty, standing next to a casket. The caption said it was his father's funeral. Next to him was an older man with hard eyes. The caption identified him as Go Sang-chul, longtime associate of the Seo family. She thought about her landlord backing off, her phone bill, the way that guy in Hongdae had looked at Jiwon like he was afraid. She thought about Jiwon's hands on her face, gentle and careful. She didn't know what to do with any of it. Her phone rang. Jiwon. She almost didn't answer, then did. Hi, she said. Hi. Bad time? No. Just got home. Tired? A little. I was thinking about you. Her heart hurt. Yeah? Yeah. I know it's late notice, but are you free tomorrow? There's somewhere I want to take you. She should say no, should create distance, should think about this. Where? She asked instead. It's a surprise. Trust me? That was the question, wasn't it? Okay, she heard herself say. What time? They made plans. Hung up. She sat on her bed staring at nothing. Hannah called 5 minutes later. Are you okay? Hannah asked. Why wouldn't I be? Because you've been weird all day, and I know you well enough now to know when something's wrong. Niko Susanna considered lying. Decided she needed to say it out loud to someone. I think Jiwon fixed my landlord problem. Silence on the other end. Then, oh, yeah. Did you ask him to? No. I didn't even tell him it was happening. Then how did he know? That's what I'm trying to figure out. More silence. Nkosi, I like you, so I'm going to say this as a friend. Men like Seo Jiwon don't do things for free. Even good things, there's always a price. You think he wants something from me? I think he wants you, and I think he's used to getting what he wants. After they hung up, Mikosazana couldn't sleep. She lay in bed watching the ceiling, thinking in circles. By morning, she'd made a decision. She was going to ask him directly. No dancing around it. If this was going to be anything real, she needed the truth. He picked her up at 10. He was wearing jeans and a t-shirt, more casual than she'd ever seen him. He looked younger, happy to see her. "Where are we going?" she asked, as she got in the car. "You'll see." They drove north out of the city. The buildings got shorter, the spaces between them wider. After 40 minutes, they pulled into a small town, the kind where everyone probably knew everyone. He parked near a hiking trail. "We're hiking?" she asked. "Just a short walk. There's something at the top I want to show you." The trail was easy, winding up through trees. They walked side by side, and he pointed out birds, told her the names in Korean and English both. They talked about nothing important: the weather, the city, whether convenience store coffee was actually getting better, or if they'd just gotten used to it. At the top was a clearing with a view of the valley. It was beautiful, green and gold and sprawling. "My mother used to bring me here," Jiwon said quietly. "When I was young and everything felt too big, she'd say if I could see things from far away, they wouldn't seem so overwhelming up close." Did it work? Sometimes. They sat on a bench someone had built there. The view really was incredible. "Can I ask you something?" Mikosazana said. "Of course." "Did you do something about my landlord?" He went very still. "What makes you think that?" He changed his mind, very suddenly, right after I told you about the problem. Jiwon looked out at the valley. "Would it bother you if I had?" "That's not an answer. It's an honest question." She thought about it. "I don't know. Maybe. Probably. Yes." "Why?" "Because I didn't ask you to. Because I don't know what it means that you did. Because it feels like I'm not in control of my own life if you're solving problems I didn't ask you to solve." He nodded slowly. "That makes sense. So did you." He turned to look at her. His eyes were serious, searching her face. "Yes." Her stomach dropped, even though she'd known, hearing him say it was different. "Why?" she asked. "Because he was taking advantage of you, and it wasn't right. People take advantage of people all the time. You can't fix everyone's landlord problems. I don't want to fix everyone's problems. I wanted to fix yours." "Why?" "Because I care about you. Because I have the ability to help, and I wanted to use it. Because the idea of you stressed and worried about rent when I could make it go away with one phone call felt wrong." She stood up, needing to move, walked to the edge of the clearing. He stayed on the bench. "What else?" she asked. "What do you mean? What else did you do? The phone bill?" Pause. "Yes." "What else?" "Nothing else. Jiwon. I'm serious. Those two things, that's it." She turned around. "How did you even know about the landlord?" "I didn't tell you." He had the grace to look uncomfortable. "I asked someone to make sure you were okay. Safe. After we started seeing each other, they mentioned the landlord was harassing you. You had someone check on me. Not like that. Not spying. Just making sure nothing was going to hurt you. That's literally spying. That's protection. I didn't ask for protection." "I know." He stood up. "And I'm sorry. I should have asked. I should have told you. I'm not good at this. At normal. In my world, you see a problem. You fix it. You care about someone. You protect them. I didn't think about how it would feel from your side." She wanted to be angry. Part of her was angry. But part of her also heard the truth in what he was saying. He genuinely didn't see anything wrong with it. "You can't just fix my life without telling me," she said. "I know that now. And you can't have people watching me." "They're not watching you. They were making sure you were safe. There's a difference." "Not to me, there isn't." He walked over to her, stopped a few feet away, close but not touching. "Tell me what you need. I'll do it." "I need you to stop solving problems I don't ask you to solve." "Okay. And I need you to tell me the truth about who you are and what you do." His jaw tightened. "That's complicated." "Then uncomplicate it." They stared at each other. The valley spread out behind them, beautiful and indifferent. "My family business isn't entirely legal," he said finally. "We own legitimate companies. Real ones. But some of what we do exists in the spaces between legal and not. Import and export that doesn't always follow regulations. Clubs that pay off inspectors. Real estate deals that involve pressure and leverage. My father built it. I inherited it. And I've spent the last 3 years trying to make it cleaner, while not losing everything he built. Why? Why make it cleaner? Why keep it at all? If it's not what you want, why not just walk away? Because hundreds of people work for me. Because walking away means those people lose their jobs. Because the ones who would take over if I left are worse than me. Because it's not that simple. It could be. In theory, maybe. In practice, no. She sat back down on the bench. He sat next to her, keeping distance between them. I scare you, he said, not a question. A little. A little. Do you want to stop seeing me? Did she? That was the question. The smart answer was yes. The safe answer was yes. No, she said. He looked at her, surprised. No? Not yet, anyway. But I need you to be honest with me. Always. Even when it's complicated. I can do that. And no more fixing things without asking me first. That one's harder, but I'll try. Despite everything, she almost smiled. You'll try? I'm being honest. It's going to be hard for me not to want to help you, but I'll try to ask first. That's all I'm asking. He reached over slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. He took her hand. I don't want to lose this, he said quietly. Whatever this is, I don't either. So where does that leave us? Figuring it out as we go? I can work with that. They sat there holding hands, looking at the valley. It should have felt resolved. It didn't. But it felt like a start. On the drive back, he asked about her sister. Nkosazana told him about Akinyi, how she was smart and funny, and wanted to be a doctor, how their mother was working 3 jobs to keep her in school, how Nkosazana sent money every month, and it still somehow wasn't enough. The school system there is complicated, she explained. Expensive, and there are always fees they don't tell you about until suddenly your sister can't take exams because some administrator decided you owe money you didn't know about. That sounds incredibly frustrating. It is, but it's worth it. She's worth it. He squeezed her hand. Didn't offer to help. She appreciated that more than he probably knew. They got back to Seoul as the sun was setting. He parked outside her building. Thank you for today, he said. For hearing me out. For not running. Thank you for being honest. Can I see you again? Yeah. Text me. He smiled, leaned over and kissed her softly. She kissed him back, and for a moment, everything else fell away. When she got upstairs, her phone buzzed. Jiwon, I meant what I said. I'll be honest with you, always. Ninko, good, because I'll know if you're not. Jiwon, how? Nkosazana, I'm very observant. Jiwon, I've noticed. She fell asleep feeling like maybe this could work, like maybe complicated didn't have to mean impossible. She should have known better. Monday at work was normal. Tuesday was normal. Wednesday she picked up a shift for another server and made good tips. Thursday she had lunch with Hana, and they talked about everything except Jiwon, which meant Hana was still worried, but being polite about it. Friday everything fell apart. She was walking to work, running late because the bus had broken down, when a black car pulled up next to her. The back window rolled down. An older man looked out at her. 60-something, hard eyes, expensive suit. She recognized him from the photo she'd seen. Go Sang-chul. Miss Mirembe, he said in perfect Korean. May I have a moment of your time? Every instinct screamed run, but they were on a busy street in daylight, and he was being polite, and she didn't know what else to do. I'm late for work, she said. This won't take long, please. It wasn't really a request. She got in the car. The interior was leather and chrome. He sat across from her, hands folded in his lap, expression neutral. You're seeing Seo Jiwon, he said. Is that a question? An observation. He's quite taken with you. Is there a point to this conversation? The point is that you're a complication. Jiwon is at a delicate stage in his career. There are people watching him. Rivals. Law enforcement. Politicians who'd love to see him fail. And here he is, distracted by a foreign girl he met in a restaurant. The way he said foreign girl made her skin crawl. I'm not trying to distract him from anything. I'm sure you're not. I'm sure you're a very nice young woman. But intention doesn't matter. Result matters. And the result is that he's vulnerable because of you. Then maybe you should be having this conversation with him. I've tried. He won't listen. He's infatuated. It clouds his judgment. So what do you want from me? I want you to step back. For his sake. For your sake. This world isn't safe for outsiders. The less involved you are, the better for everyone. Does Jiwon know you're here? No. And I'd prefer to keep it that way. She looked at him directly. I appreciate your concern. But if Jiwon wants me to step back, he can tell me himself. Something flickered in Go Sang-chul's eyes. Surprise, maybe. Or respect. Hard to tell. You're braver than I expected. I'm not brave. I just don't like being told what to do by strangers. Fair enough. He gestured to the driver. The car pulled over. Think about what I said, please. I've served the CO family for 30 years. I know how this ends. And it doesn't end well for the girl. She got out of the car fast, heart hammering. It drove away smoothly, disappeared into traffic. She made it to work somehow, got through her shift somehow, smiled at customers and took orders and didn't scream. When she got home, she sat on her bed and shook. Her phone rang. Jiwon. She stared at it. Answered. Hey, he said. How was work? Fine. Busy. You sound tired. Long day. Want to talk about it? She almost told him. Almost said your lieutenant cornered me in a car and told me to leave you alone. But something stopped her. Maybe pride. Maybe fear. Maybe the need to process it herself first. If you're still with me at this point, I need to know. Drop a comment below and tell me what you think Miko Sazana should do. Should she tell Jiwon about Mr. Go? Should she walk away? Let me know what you're thinking, because this is about to get even more intense. Just tired, she said. Can I call you tomorrow? Pause. So he could feel him calculating on the other end. Of course. Get some sleep. You too. Miko Sazana. Yeah? I'm glad I met you. Her throat tightened. Me too. They hung up. She sat in the dark for a long time. The next morning she woke up to 7 missed calls from her mother. Her hands shook as she called back. Mom, what's wrong? Her mother's voice was tight with stress. It's Akinyi. The school. They're saying she can't take her final exams. What? Why? They're saying we owe fees. For lab equipment and library funds, and I don't even know what else. 20 million shillings. I don't have it. I've called everyone I know. Tried to negotiate. They won't budge. Ninko Sazana did the math in her head. 20 million Ugandan shillings was about 6,000 US dollars, or roughly 7 million Korean won. She had maybe 800,000 won in her savings. She'd been sending everything extra home. She didn't have it. When do they need it by? She asked, even though she knew the answer would be bad. Next week. If we don't pay by next week, she can't take exams. If she can't take exams, she loses the whole year. A whole year. Akinyi would be devastated. All that work for nothing. I'll figure something out, Ninko Sazana heard herself say. How? I don't know yet, but I will. Tell Akinyi it's going to be okay. She hung up and immediately started running numbers. If she worked every possible shift for the next week, took no days off, if tips were good, she might get to 1.5 million won. Not even close to enough. She could borrow from friends, but none of her friends had that kind of money either. Could take out a loan, but her visa status made that nearly impossible. Could ask Jiwon. The thought made her feel sick. He'd said he'd help. He'd want to help, but owing him that much money, being that dependent, after everything Mr. Go had said, she couldn't. She spent the day applying for every extra shift she could get, looking into loan options, doing math that didn't work no matter how many times she redid it. That evening, her phone buzzed. Jiwon, dinner tomorrow? She stared at the message. Ninko Sazana. Can't. Picked up extra shifts. Jiwon. Sunday then? Ninko Sazana. Maybe. I'll let you know. Jiwon. Everything okay? Ninko Sazana. Yeah. Just busy. She could feel him not believing her through the phone. Sunday came, and she worked a double shift. Her feet hurt. Her head hurt. She'd done the math 17 more times, and it still didn't work. Monday morning, she woke up to an email. It was from Akinyi's school, a receipt, showing the fees had been paid in full. Anonymous donor. Her blood went cold. She called her mother. "Did you see the email?" Her mother asked immediately. "Someone paid. I don't know who, but someone paid." "When?" "This morning. The school called me. They said a wire transfer came through from Korea. Do you know anything about this?" She knew exactly what this was. "Let me make some calls," she said. "I'll call you back." She hung up and immediately called Jiwon. He answered on the first ring. "Good morning. Did you pay my sister's school fees?" Silence. "Jiwon, did you?" "Yes." She couldn't breathe. "How did you even know about that?" "You were stressed, distant. I asked someone to find out if there was a problem. They found out about the school. I made a phone call." "You said you would ask me first." "I know." "You said you wouldn't do this." "I know." "Then why did you?" His voice was quiet. "Because I couldn't stand the idea of you hurting when I could fix it." "It wasn't yours to fix." "I know that too." She was shaking, furious and grateful, and terrified all at once. You can't keep doing this. You can't keep making decisions about my life." "I'm sorry." "Sorry isn't enough. This is exactly what Mr. Go warned me about." She regretted it the second she said it. "What?" His voice went sharp. "What did you just say?" She closed her eyes. "Nothing." "Miko Sazana, what did Go Sungchul say to you?" "It doesn't matter." "When did you talk to him?" She didn't answer. "When?" "Friday. He pulled up next to me in a car." She heard something crash on his end. "He did what?" "He said I was a distraction, that I should step back for your sake." "And you didn't think to tell me?" "I was going to." "When?" "I don't know. I needed to think." "About what?" "About whether his threat was valid?" "It wasn't a threat. It was concern. It was absolutely a threat." His voice was cold now, that controlled blankness from the restaurant. "Did he touch you?" "No." "Did he threaten you directly?" "No." He was polite, but the message was clear. She heard him breathing on the other end, heard the control it was taking for him to stay calm. "I need to go," he said finally. "Jiwon, I need to handle this. I'll call you later. Don't do anything. Don't hurt him or whatever you're thinking." "I'm not going to hurt him, but he crossed a line and he knows better." "Jiswon, please. I'll call you later." He hung up. She sat there holding her phone, feeling like everything was spinning out of control. Her phone buzzed an hour later. A text from a number she didn't recognize. "Unknown. You should have listened when you had the chance. Things are about to get complicated for your boyfriend. Hope you're ready." Her stomach dropped. Another text. A photo. Jiwon leaving his office building. The angle suggested it was taken from across the street, zoomed in. Someone was watching him. She tried calling Jiwon back. It went to voicemail. She tried again. Voicemail. Texted him. "Someone just sent me a photo of you. I think you're being watched." The message showed delivered, but not read. She paced her apartment, trying to figure out what to do. Call the police? And say what? She didn't even know who sent the message. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. "Hello? Miss Mirembe." The voice was male, young, amused. "You don't know me yet, but you will. Tell Seo Jiwon that Kang Minsok says hello. And tell him to check his properties in Itaewon. There might be some problems." The line went dead. She stood there, phone in hand, heart racing. Everything Mr. Go had said was coming true. She was a complication, a vulnerability. And now someone was using that against Jiwon. She grabbed her jacket and headed for the door. She didn't have a plan. She just knew she needed to find him. Her phone buzzed. "Jiwon, where are you?" "Nikosazana. Home. Where are you?" "Jiwon, I'm coming to get you. Pack a bag." "Nikosazana. What? Why?" "Jiwon, just do it, please. I'll explain when I get there." "Nikosazana. Jiwon, you're scaring me." "Jiwon, I know. I'm sorry. But you're not safe at your apartment right now. Trust me, please." She looked around her small room, at her normal life, and felt it slipping away. Outside, tires squealed. A car door slammed. Someone knocked on her door, hard and fast. Her blood went cold. The knocking came again, louder. Ninkosazana's heart hammered against her ribs. She looked at her phone. Jiwon's last message said he was coming to get her, but this was too fast. He couldn't be here yet. Ninkosazana. Jiwon's voice came through the door. It's me. Open up. Relief and confusion hit her at the same time. She opened the door. He was there, slightly out of breath, like he'd run up the stairs. Behind him was another man, younger, built like he spent his life in a gym. Pack a bag, Jiwon said, walking in past her. Just essentials. We need to leave now. What's happening? Kang Min-seok is making moves. He knows about you. He's using you to get to me. The guy who just called me? Jiwon's face went hard. He called you? 2 minutes ago. Said to tell you hello, and something about problems with your properties in Itaewon. Jiwon pulled out his phone, dialed fast. Check the Itaewon locations. All of them. Yes, now. He hung up, looked at her. What else did he say? Nothing. Just that. Then he hung up. Did he threaten you? Not directly, but someone texted me a photo of you leaving your office, like they'd been watching. The other man, the quiet one by the door, spoke up. We should move, if they know where she lives. Jiwon nodded. Ninkosazana, please, pack a bag. She wanted to argue, wanted to say she could handle herself, but the look on his face stopped her. This wasn't him being controlling. This was genuine fear. She grabbed her backpack, threw in clothes, her laptop, charger, passport. 30 seconds. Ready. They went down the back stairs, fast and quiet. The gym guy went first, checking corners like he expected someone to jump out. They got to the car, a different one than Jiwon usually drove. She got in the back with Jiwon. Gym guy drove. Where are we going? She asked. Somewhere safe. That's not an answer. My place. 24-hour security. Cameras. No one gets in without clearance. She should have felt afraid. Maybe she did. But mostly she felt angry. Tell me everything, she said. Right now. No more protecting me from information. If I'm in danger, I deserve to know why. Jiwon looked at her, then nodded. Kang Min-seok runs operations south of the river. Clubs, gambling, some other things. We've been competing for the same properties, same territory. 3 months ago, I outbid him on a building in Gangnam. He took it personally. So this is business. It was business. Then he found out about you. Now it's personal for him too. He thinks if he can get to you, he can leverage me, make me back off. And will you? Back off? If he threatens me, will you give him what he wants? Jiwon's jaw tightened. I'll give him whatever he wants if it keeps you safe. That's the wrong answer. He looked at her sharply. Excuse me? If you give him what he wants, you lose. He wins. And then what? He knows I'm a weak spot. He'll use that again. And again. You can't negotiate with someone who's willing to hurt innocent people. So, what do you suggest? She hadn't expected him to actually ask. I suggest you stop treating me like something fragile you need to hide away. I suggest we figure out what he actually wants, and find another way to give it to him. Or, take away his ability to want it. The gym guy, still driving, made a sound that might have been a laugh. Jiwon stared at her. You want to help. I want to not be helpless. There's a difference. Something shifted in his expression. Not quite a smile, but close. Okay. Okay? Okay. We'll figure it out together. They got to his building. Underground parking. Elevators that required a key card. His apartment was on the top floor. When the doors opened, she stepped into a space that was beautiful and cold at the same time. All clean lines and expensive furniture, and not much that looked personal. Except, on the kitchen counter, a bag from Mrs. Lim's restaurant. On the coffee table, a book in English, the same one she'd mentioned liking last week. In a frame on the shelf, a photo she hadn't seen before. Him and his mother, both smiling, somewhere with trees and sunlight. Make yourself comfortable, he said. Are you hungry? I'm too stressed to eat. Try anyway. You'll feel better. He heated up food from Mrs. Lim's bag, set it out on the counter. She picked at it. He was right. She did feel slightly better. His phone rang. He answered, listened, his face getting darker. How bad? Okay. No. Don't engage. Just document everything and pull back. Yes. Call me in an hour. He hung up. Kang set fire to one of my clubs in Itaewon, he said flatly. Small fire, contained fast, but the message is clear. Is anyone hurt? No, it was closed, being renovated. But if it had been open, he didn't finish the sentence. Nikosazana set down her chopsticks. What does he actually want? Like, end goal? The Gangnam property. And for me to stay out of his territory. What's the property worth? To me or to him? Both. To me, it's strategic. Good location, high rent potential, clean investment. To him, it's personal. Proof he can't be pushed around. So it's ego. Mostly. She thought about it. What if you gave him the property but made it worthless? Jiwon tilted his head. Explain. You said it's valuable because of location and rent potential. What if the location suddenly had problems? What if tenants didn't want to be there anymore? What if permits got held up? What if it became more trouble than it's worth? That would take time. And connections. Do you have connections? He almost smiled. A few. Then use them. Not to hurt him. To make the thing he wants not worth wanting. The gym guy, who'd been standing silently by the door, spoke up. That could work. Make it a poisoned prize. Jiwon looked at her with something like wonder. You're terrifying. You know that? I'm practical. There's a difference. He pulled out his phone, started making calls. She listened to him work, watched him shift from the person who'd been scared for her to the person who ran an empire. It was impressive and slightly intimidating. An hour later, he had a plan. 3 city inspectors who owed him favors would find code violations at the property. A journalist he knew would write about the neighborhood's upcoming rezoning that would limit commercial use. 2 of the current tenants would suddenly decide not to renew their leases. Within a month, the property would be a headache instead of a prize. And Kang? She asked. Once the property is worthless, I'll offer him a deal. He can have it. No fight. But he backs off everything else. Will he take it? If he's smart. If he's not, we have other options. Non-violent options? Jiwon looked at her. Non-violent options. She believed him. His phone rang again. He glanced at the screen, and his expression went cold. Go Sang-chul, he said. Then to her, I need to take this. It won't be pleasant. Take it. I'm not going anywhere. He answered. Put it on speaker. Jiwon. Mr. Go's voice was calm, controlled. I heard about the Itaewon fire. I'm handling it. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like Kang is escalating and you're distracted. I'm not distracted. I'm solving the problem. By hiding the girl in your apartment. That's not solving anything. That's making yourself more vulnerable. Jiwon's hand tightened on the phone. You don't get to talk about her. Someone has to. You're thinking with your heart instead of your head. My head is fine, and my heart is none of your business. Everything about you is my business. I've kept this family safe for 30 years. I won't watch you destroy it for some woman you barely know. Menkosana had heard enough. She walked over, took the phone from Jiwon's hand before he could stop her. Mr. Go, she said clearly. This is Enkosana. We met in your car last week. Silence on the other end. Then, Miss Mirembe, this conversation doesn't concern you. It absolutely concerns me, since you're talking about me. So let me be very clear. I'm not some fragile thing that's going to break under pressure. I'm not a distraction, and I'm not going anywhere. You don't understand what you're involved in. Then explain it to me. Use small words if you need to. She heard what might have been a surprised laugh. You have courage. I'll give you that. I have a low tolerance for men who think they know what's best for everyone else. Now, do you want to help us deal with Kang Min-sok, or do you want to keep lecturing us about choices that are already made? More silence. Jiwon was staring at her with an expression she couldn't read. What's your plan? Mr. Go asked finally. She explained it, quick and clear. When she finished, Mr. Go was quiet for a long moment. That might actually work, he said, grudging respect in his voice. It will work, she said, if everyone stops fighting each other and starts working together. I'll make the calls about the inspectors, Mr. Go said. I know people. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. And Miss Mirembe? Yes? I was wrong about you. I'm sorry. She hadn't expected that. Apology accepted. They hung up. Jiswan was still staring at her. What? She said. I don't think anyone's ever spoken to Go Sangchul like that and lived to tell about it. He's just a man. Men respond to confidence. You're incredible. I'm annoyed. There's a difference. He laughed. Actually laughed, and crossed the space between them, pulled her close. She let herself lean into him, feeling the tension of the last few hours finally crack. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For the school fees. For not asking. For all of it. I'm still mad about that. I know. But I understand why you did it. Does that mean you forgive me? It means I'm working on it. Ask me again later. He kissed the top of her head. Fair enough. They spent the night planning. Mr. Go called back with updates. The gym guy, whose name turned out to be Minho, ordered food. Other people called, reported in, took instructions. She watched Jiwon coordinate everything like a general moving pieces on a board. Around midnight, exhausted, she fell asleep on his couch. She woke up covered with a blanket, sunlight streaming through the windows. Jiwon was at the dining table with his laptop, on a call, speaking low. When he saw her awake, he wrapped up the conversation. Morning, he said. Coffee? Please. He brought her a cup, made exactly how she liked it. She didn't remember telling him how she liked her coffee, but apparently he'd been paying attention. Updates? She asked. The inspectors found violations. The journalist published the rezoning article an hour ago. 2 tenants gave notice. Kang's people have been calling around asking questions. They're starting to realize the property isn't as valuable as they thought. So now what? Now we wait. Let it sink in. Then I make the offer. And if he doesn't take it, then we move to plan B. Which is? Still working on that part. She sipped her coffee. Can I ask you something? Anything. After all this is over, after Kang is handled, what happens with us? He set down his cup. What do you want to happen? I want normal. As much as normal as possible. I want to go to work and save money and apply to graduate school. I want to see you without worrying that someone's going to use me to hurt you. I just want to breathe. I want that too. Can you have it? In your world? He was quiet for a moment. I don't know, but I want to try. For you, I want to try. Not for me, for you. For both of us then. Her phone rang. Her mother. I should take this, she said. Of course. She walked to the window, answered. Hi, Mom. Nikosi, where are you? I've been trying to call. I'm safe. I'm with a friend. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I wanted to thank you. For the school fees. However you managed it. Guilt twisted in her stomach. Mom. I know you didn't have the money. I know someone helped you. I'm not going to ask who or how. I just want you to know that Akinyi took her exams. She thinks she did well, and that's because of you. Tears pricked her eyes. It wasn't just me. Maybe not, but you made it happen. You always make things happen. I'm so proud of you. She had to sit down. Thanks, Mom. Are you really okay? You sound tired. Just a long week. But I'm okay. I promise. They talked for a few more minutes. Normal things, family things. When she hung up, Jiwon was watching her. Your sister did well on her exams, he said. Not a question. Yeah. I'm glad. Jiwon. I know. You're still working on forgiving me, but I'm still glad. Despite everything, she smiled. 2 days later, Jiwon made the offer to Kang Min-suk. She wasn't there for the actual meeting, but she heard about it after. Jiwon met him in a neutral location, a hotel lobby, public and safe, laid out the situation. Kang could have the Gangnam property, free and clear, no competition. In exchange, he'd back off the Itaewon territory and leave Jiwon's people alone. Kang had apparently laughed, said it was a trick. Jiwon showed him the inspection reports, the news article, the tenant notices. Showed him exactly how much of a headache the property was about to become. Kang stopped laughing. He took the deal. Just like that, it was over. Nico Sazana moved back to her apartment that weekend. Jiwon didn't want her to. Wanted her to stay where it was safe. But she insisted. She needed her space back. Needed to feel like her life was hers again. He understood. Drove her home himself. Carried her bag up the stairs. Kissed her goodbye at the door like a normal boyfriend doing normal things. Dinner tomorrow? He asked. I have a shift until 9. After then, I'll be tired. We'll do something low-key. Mrs. Lims? She smiled. Okay. Okay. He kissed her again, softer this time, and left. She went inside and stood in her small apartment, and felt like she could breathe properly for the first time in weeks. Life went back to something like normal. She worked at the restaurant, saved money, started looking at graduate programs for real, instead of just dreaming about them. Saw Jiwon 3 or 4 times a week, sometimes more. He was trying, she could tell, trying to be normal, to give her space, to ask before solving problems. He wasn't perfect at it. Old habits were hard to break. But he was trying. 2 months after the Kang situation, she came home to find a letter waiting for her. Official looking, university letterhead. She opened it with shaking hands. Acceptance to the graduate program at Seoul National University. Full scholarship, starting next semester. She read it 3 times to make sure it was real. Then she called Jiwon. I got in, she said when he answered. Got in where? SNU, graduate program, full scholarship. She heard his sharp intake of breath. Nikosazana, that's incredible. Congratulations. Thank you. We should celebrate. Let me take you somewhere nice. Just nice? Not fancy? As nice, or as not nice as you want. Mrs. Lims? He laughed. Mrs. Lims it is. I'll pick you up at 7. At dinner, Mrs. Lim made a fuss, brought out special dishes, told Nikosazana she was brilliant and beautiful, and Jiwon was lucky to have her. Jiwon agreed with all of it, looking at Nikosazana like she was the only person in the room. I'm proud of you, he said when Mrs. Lim finally left them alone. You barely know my GPA. I know you worked for this. I know you earned it. That's enough. She reached across the table, took his hand. Thank you. For what? For not trying to take credit for this one. I know you probably wanted to. He smiled. I did call in one favor. Just one. Her stomach dropped. Jiwon. I'm kidding. I didn't do anything. This was all you. She threw a napkin at him. He caught it, laughing. Seriously though, he said. I didn't touch this. I promised myself I wouldn't. You deserve to do it yourself. That must have been hard for you. You have no idea. They finished dinner, walked along the river, talked about her classes and his work, and whether Mrs. Lim would ever retire. Normal things. Easy things. Can I tell you something? He said, as they were walking back to the car. Sure. I'm leaving the business. Some of it, anyway. The parts that aren't clean. I'm selling off the clubs, the imports, the gray area stuff, keeping the real estate, and the legitimate companies. She stopped walking. Really? Really. It's going to take time. Maybe a year, maybe more. But I'm doing it. Because of me? Because of you. And because of me. Because I want to be someone you can be proud of. And because I want to sleep at night, without wondering who I've hurt to get where I am. She didn't know what to say, so she kissed him instead, right there on the sidewalk with people walking past and the river flowing beside them. When they broke apart, he was smiling. So you forgive me? He asked. For the school fees? I'm working on it. Still? It was a lot of money. It's going to take a while. Fair enough. I'll keep asking. Please do. 3 months into the semester, Akinyi came to visit. She'd finished her exams with top marks, earned a scholarship of her own to a good university in Kampala. She wanted to see Korea, see where her sister lived, meet the mysterious boyfriend she'd heard about. Nkosazana was nervous. Jiwon was nervous. They were both disasters. They picked up Akinyi from the airport together. She came through arrivals tall and bright and beautiful, saw Nkosazana and screamed and ran over. They hugged for a solid minute. You look good, Akinyi said, pulling back to study her. Happy. I am happy. Good. Then she turned to Jiwon, looked him up and down, and said in perfect Korean, So you're the one who's been distracting my sister from video calls. Jiwon's eyes went wide. You speak Korean? Nkosi's been teaching me. Thought I'd surprise you. She switched back to English. Also, I wanted to make sure I could eavesdrop if you two start talking about me. Nkosazana laughed. She's smarter than both of us combined. I believe it, Jiwon said. They spent the week showing Akinyi around Seoul. Palaces and markets and Mrs. Lim's restaurant. where Akinyi ate her weight in banchan and declared Korean food superior to all other foods, no contest. They went to Busan for a weekend, walked on the beach, ate fresh seafood, took 1,000 photos. One night, while Jiwon was getting coffee, Akinyi turned to Nkosazana. "He's good for you," she said. "Yeah?" "Yeah. You smile more. You seem lighter. He makes me happy. I can tell. And he looks at you like you hung the moon. He's dramatic like that." "No, he's in love like that. You know that, right?" Nkosasana's heart skipped. "We haven't. We don't say that yet. Maybe you should." Jiwon came back with coffee before she could respond, but the words stayed with her. On Akinyi's last night, they had dinner at Jiwon's apartment. He cooked, which surprised both of them. It was simple food, but good, made with care. After dinner, they sat on the balcony looking at the city lights. "This is nice," Akinyi said. "You two are disgustingly cute together." "We try," Jiwon said. "Try harder. I want to be an auntie someday." Nkosazana choked on her drink. Jiwon turned red. Akinyi cackled. Later, after Akinyi went to bed in the guest room, Nkosazana and Jiwon stayed on the balcony. "Your sister is terrifying," he said. "She gets it from me. I believe that too." They sat in comfortable silence. The city spread out below them. Millions of lights, millions of lives. "I love you," Jiwon said quietly. She turned to look at him. He was staring at the city, not at her, like it was easier to say it without eye contact. "I've loved you for a while, actually," he continued. "Since probably the second date. Maybe the first, I don't know. I just know that you walked into my life and everything got better and scarier and more complicated and more worth it all at once. And I love you. I needed you to know that." Her throat was tight. "Jiwon, look at me." He did. His eyes were vulnerable in a way she'd never seen. "I love you too," she said. His face transformed. "Yeah? Yeah, you're bossy and overprotective, and you solve problems you shouldn't solve. But you're also kind and trying so hard, and you make me laugh. And I love you." He kissed her then, soft and deep and full of promise. When they broke apart, he was smiling so wide it looked like it hurt. "So what now?" he asked. "Now we keep figuring it out, one day at a time." "I can work with that." "Good, because you're stuck with me now." "Best news I've heard all year." They stayed on the balcony until late, talking about everything and nothing, planning a future that felt impossible, and perfect and real. 6 months later, Nkosazana finished her first year of graduate school with honors. Jiwon sold off the last of his questionable businesses and started a foundation for international students in Korea. Mr. Go retired and spent his days fishing and occasionally calling to give unsolicited advice. Akinyi started university and video called twice a week to complain about her classes and ask about wedding plans that didn't exist yet. On a Saturday afternoon, Nkosazana was at Mrs. Lim's restaurant with Jiwon. They'd been coming here so often, they had a regular table now. Mrs. Lim brought them food they didn't order and told them stories about when Jiwon was young and awkward. "He had the biggest ears," Mrs. Lim said, laughing, "like little satellite dishes." "I grew into them," Jiwon protested. "Barely," Nkosazana teased. Mrs. Lim patted her hand. "You're good for him. He smiles now. Before you, always so serious." "Before her, I had reasons to be serious," Jiwon said. "Now you have reasons to be happy. Better reasons." She bustled off to help another customer. Jiwon looked at Nkosazana across the table. "She's right, you know," he said. "About the ears? About everything. You make me happy. You make me better. You make yourself better. I just cheerlead from the sidelines." "Important job." "I try." He reached across the table, took her hand. "Thank you." "For what?" "For not running away when you had every reason to. For giving me a chance. For loving me, even when I'm terrible at being normal." "You're getting better at normal. Only because you're patient. Patient is generous. I'm stubborn. There's a difference." He laughed. "Fair." They finished their meal, said goodbye to Mrs. Lim, walked out into the Seoul afternoon. The city was loud and bright and chaotic and beautiful. "Where to?" Jiwon asked. "Anywhere. Everywhere. I don't know." Helpful. I'm flexible. That's new. She bumped his shoulder. He caught her hand, held it as they walked. They ended up at the river, the same spot where they'd walked on their second date. The water reflected the sky, blue and endless. Can I ask you something? Nkosazana said. Anything. Are you happy? Really happy? Or do you miss the old life sometimes? He thought about it. I don't miss the stress, or the fear, or the feeling like I was always one mistake away from everything falling apart. But sometimes I miss the simplicity of it. Everything was clear. Now nothing's clear, but everything's better. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. What about you? Are you happy? Ridiculously happy. Annoyingly happy. The kind of happy that makes other people want to throw things at me. Good. They stood there watching the water, holding hands, being happy. And if this story made you feel something, if you smiled or got butterflies, or just enjoyed the ride, do me one last favor. Hit that subscribe button. Because I've got more stories like this coming. Stories about people finding each other in unexpected places. About love that's complicated and real, and worth fighting for. So subscribe. Leave a comment telling me what you thought, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for being here. Somewhere in the city, in a small restaurant in Uljiro, Mrs. Lim was telling her husband that she'd known from the start those two were meant for each other. In Uganda, Akinyi was texting her sister, asking when the wedding was happening. In a high-rise in Gangnam, Mr. Go was looking at photos of his grandchildren and thinking maybe retirement wasn't so bad after all. And on the banks of the Han River, two people who'd found each other against all odds stood together, watching the water and planning a future that was theirs to build. Not perfect, not simple, but real. And that was enough.